Okay, looks like we're all set. Let's go ahead and let's do this, okay? Let's go. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Pierre, your host. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We just had a 3-day weekend here in France because yesterday was All Saints Day. I'm sure all you Catholics out there, you know what that is. I sure as hell don't. All I know is that it was another day off. So I took advantage of having a 3-day weekend. Who's going to complain? The other thing that happened to us here in France yesterday, or should I say did Sunday, is that we moved the clocks back 1 hour. So instead of being 9 a.m. in the States, it's 10 a.m. and I'm an hour late for you guys, yet I am on time for us here in France. So for the whole week, it's going to be a little bit odd. I guess I'm going to have to I didn't remember this on Friday, that we were moving the clocks back. So I know that in the States, it's on the 7th. So I'll just have to remember when I tune out or on Instagram, make sure I say 10 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. So anyways, my friends, let's do what we always do. Let's go over to the computer. Let's have a quick reminder of what we did on Friday, and let's start our day from there. So on Friday, what did we do? Yes, we added our nuclear towers. That's what we did. And then we added some shadowing to our background. Now we had to do that twice. The first time we put the shadowing, it looked way too dark. So we went back on top of that, made it a little bit lighter. And to be honest, I don't regret it one bit, because when I walked in the studio, the shadowing looked just right. Let's put it that way, just right. And I know on the camera, when there's a lot of contrast, it looks great. Unfortunately, my gallery owner and my clients, they don't buy through the camera. They come here and they look at the paintings. So when I do things, it has to be subtle. It can't be with a heavy contrast. And that's what the problem was with my background. So anyways, what are we going to do today? We're going to start off by doing what I call electromagnetic waves. It's nothing more than lines that go towards the outside, as though you were throwing a stone in a pond and you would see the ripples going out. That's the idea, at least, that I try to do. And I do that quite a bit in the background of my paintings. It's because I just love astronomy and astrophysics and whatnot. So anyways, so I have the lines already drawn on my canvas. I'm just going to go back with some darker gray paint and go over them to give that ripple effect. So usually I do these lines when I'm streaming live, but to be honest with you, I was so in a rush to kind of get to work that I decided I'd just do that before we'd start painting, get that done so I can start painting right away. Let's put it that way. So I have a palette, I have my knife. I'm going to put a little bit of white paint here. And then I'm going to put some black. Now I'm going to want to make this these ripples a little bit darker than our background. Not too dark, hopefully. Find a happy middle line. And then we will, figure out what we're going to do. Maybe go down and do this part if we're finished early. Whatever. So I have that. What do I need? I need my black paint now. Right here. Grab my knife again that I just put away, God knows why. And I'm not as sure. All I know is that the black paint overwhelms very quickly the white paint. So I'm going to do this in stages. First thing I'm going to do is try to get the right texture, right consistency of my paint so it flows on the canvas easy. And then I will bring in the black paint to get it the right shade of gray that we want. So that is done. Now what am I looking for? I am looking for my brush. I'm going to grab a fairly fat brush here just to mix the paint and get the right consistency. It'll go a lot quicker than with the little brush that I'm going to be using to do my little ripples. So let me just, this white paint is fairly thick. I'm going to, like I mentioned, and I'm usually, if I was mixing several colors together, I would go to my other camera right there and we would do that together. But just to mix some gray, I don't think it's all that interesting, so I'm going to skip that part and just do the blending right here as quickly as possible. I'm going to add just a little bit more white, a little more water. Yes, I'm rusty here. I haven't painted in 3 days. I haven't spoken as much out loud in English either for 3 days. So, feeling just a little bit rusty. And this still looks a little thick to me. Let me just keep blending this in. And there, it looks like we're getting very close to the consistency that I want. So now I'm going to just bring in a little bit of the black. So we have like kind of a darkish gray. This whole painting is going to be a variety of grays anyways, right? Except maybe for what's going on in the circle. But I have no idea. I have an idea. I'm not sure I'm going to go with it yet. That will have to come towards the end of the painting before I make a final decision. Okay, so I see my gray isn't dark enough, so I'm going to just add a little more black, blend all this so it's nice and homogeneous, and then we'll try it, compare it on the canvas itself, because that will be the ultimate test. So, keep blending this in. Once it's all blended, doesn't look like I'm going to have enough paint though. Let me just add a bunch of water to this. And is this going to be dark enough? Let me just put a little dot on my canvas. And no, it's not going to be dark enough. So I'm going to just bring in a little more black. I also have to keep in mind that when the paint dries, it has a tendency to darken. And that's pretty important to keep in mind. You know what? I am still hesitant about the quantity of paint that I'm making here. And I'm just going to add a little more of my white paint and just make a little more of this gray. I know it's taking a few minutes, but it's going to save me some time in case I really run out of paint. I would have to do this in 2 stages. Might as well get it done right now and get it over with right away. So let me do that. There we go. I'll bring in the rest of this black that we have right here, like that we don't have to waste any time. And I will just blend everything in vigorously. Add some water. Keep blending, turning, churning, pushing, pulling. That looks pretty good right there. Okay, so I think that's going to be the right paint. I'm going to try it in a second, but I'm going to try it with my main brush for my electromagnetic waves. There we go. I get rid of the excess water. And let's just try a little bit, just a little sample. So for that, I'm going to bring over camera number 1, set it over to the side. Let's go right in here, for example. Let's try it right there. And let's see if this is the right hue. Okay. So you can see that it's darker. It's going to dry even darker than that. So that looks like it's going to be just right. And in fact, of course, I forgot to switch cameras. In fact, it looks so dark or just right that I'm going to add a little bit of white because it's going to darken even more when it dries, and I don't really want it to be too dark because I'm going to have my plants going on top of that. So I'm just going to lighten it up just a little bit. I mean, when you're playing around with a variety of the same colors, you have to kind of be picky, right? And since I am playing with a variety of grays, I have to make sure that I'm doing get the right hue. So I just added a bunch of white. I'm going to lighten it just a little bit. Brought in quite a bit of water as well. I want this to be kind of like ink, you know. I know it won't lose its opacity, that's for sure. So I can go ahead and add quite a bit of water to make it, like I say, like ink. And like that, it will just flow on the canvas very nicely. Look at that. That's nice right there. Nice and liquid, yet thick enough to stay nice and opaque. Look at that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's grab the right paintbrush. This time I'm going to go for it right away. So I'm going to start like I usually do on my upper left-hand corner. I'm going to start way up there. And this time I'm going to try to remember to switch cameras. So let's go to camera number 1. Oh, and let's get these ripples in there. So these ripples are kind of discreet, but as the paint dries, they will become more apparent. At least in theory. So that's the part that I like. I like it when these lines intersect with each other. There we go. And again, this is just the background, right? There's going to be quite a few things on top of all this. And I'm just going to keep working from left to right. Like that, I'm sure to avoid catastrophes of putting my hand in the wet paint, which I do so often, no matter how hard I try. So let me just step back for a second, take a look. Okay, it seems to be going okay. Going as planned. Okay, very good. So I'm just going to keep working on this area here and just kind of go all the way around like that. Okay, so what is this all doing here? Concentrating on my painting and not really thinking about the camera, which could be a mistake. So here I see that some of my paint isn't quite blended in. I have a little bit of white showing up when it shouldn't. I'm just going to take a second here and reblend all this. Make sure the paint is nice in one color, one gray, one nice homogeneous gray, without any white streaks in it. There we go. So let's try this out. Okay, step back, take a look. Everything seems pretty good. Let me bring the camera number 1 over, back it up a little bit. There we go. So let's go back to camera number 1 and keep doing our little ripples here. There we go. All right, so let's keep going around over here. All right, little ripples in still water, as the Grateful Dead song goes. All right. At times I keep thinking these lines are too light, but as they dry, I can immediately see them sticking out. So pretty good. Most of them will be covered up anyways, right? The reminder is that this is just the background. Let's get that left-hand side first. I don't find myself in an uncomfortable position. There we go. Let me get back over to this side of things. Am I still on camera? No, I'm not. Good thing I turned around. Right in here, let me zoom in a little more. There we go. See what that does. Actually, I could even just go down to the top of our little tower here. There we go. All right, just like that. Now I know there's a little bit of glare from the light above my head here. There we go. Go to that area right in there. Have one there and one going this way. There we go. Now let's go to the other side of the tower. Oh. It's back just a little. There we go. Okay, so we got this part all done. The right-hand side of our painting. So let's come all the way back to the left-hand side where we left off. Way up here where my cap is. There we go. And let's continue up here. Of course, I'm going to have to keep an eye of right here where that was our test that we decided to be too dark. I'll just go over that in a few seconds, but I just want to make sure I don't put my hands in the paint like I do so often. Which is why I like starting kind of on the left-hand side and working my way around. Okay. Let me get this area. There we go. I always have a tendency to jump to areas like right in here where 3 lines cross, because those are the parts that I like the most. So I can't wait to get to them. But it would be wiser to first do the areas where I could definitely screw up. There's 2 of them. And here's the little third one. Which reminds me of a beer in the 60s that had 3 rings that would cross each over. I don't remember what it was. Ballantine's. I didn't drink beer, man. I was a kid back then. Ballantine's beer, did that exist? So, where are we here? Did we finish this? I did want to go over these 2 dark areas, right there, and right there. Okay, so let me just step back on. No, we're not quite finished. We are not quite finished. We have the center under the chin of our guy that we have to do first. This area right here. And there's this section right in here as well. Right there. So you can see the glare of the light shining on the paint. What happens if I shut off this overhead light? What will that do? Let's see what happens. Probably still be some sort of a glare, but maybe not as much. We don't have much to do anyways, right? We're at the end here. These are the last 2 rings of our ripple. Right there, and then this last one in the middle. Right there, and right there. So, now we can pull the camera back a little bit. See where we're at. I will switch over here and step back, make sure I didn't forget a ring or 2, which does happen. There we go. And I'm going to grab a cloth because I see I did screw up a little bit. Must have put my hand in the paint right in here. If I had noticed this earlier, I probably could have just wiped it right off, but now it's coming off. It had time to dry, apparently. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. There'll probably be something on top of that, like a leaf from one of my plants or whatever. So we have that done. Okay, making sure that I've got everything covered. I'm just going to add a couple rings right down on this lower left-hand side here. right here, I'm going to add just a little hint of a ring right here, just like that, and probably one right here as well. There we go. That looks about right. And the rest looks pretty good. Okay. So where am I? Camera over there. I keep moving camera number 1, but I forget to switch cameras, so it doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Okay, so here we are. Now what do we do besides having a swig of water? I'm going to turn on the overhead light as well, just because I'm used to having it on. So everything looks pretty good, but you know what? I am a picky person. And I'm just going to add maybe one circle right in here that I felt needed it, and just like that. We have the paint right here all done, the brush right here. I might as well do things right. So I'll come back to camera number 1 in a few seconds. There we go. And we'll just add those 2 last little rings. There we go. I know I'm being picky, but what the heck. That's what it's all about. So let me pull this back again. Switch back to camera number 2. Step back and see what we're going to do next. So unfortunately, my rings are